Sorry, it's a box shadow, not text shadow. Text shadow would actually affect the text, and that's not what we want. So it will take four values. The first value being horizontal. If we look at our mockup, we don't want that. We just want it below, so that would be vertical. So horizontal would be 0. Vertical would be, let's just give it a 10 pixel vertical, and that would be positive. It could go negative as well, but positive would send it in the direction we want. The third value is blur radius. So let's just do like 0.1, and then the fourth value is the color. So I think we'll just do a dark gray and see what that looks like. And we go over here and boom. So yeah, so there is our drop shadow. You see it's pushing down and not respecting the next part of the HTML, which we take a look at. It is a div class button. So what's interesting is the content will, like if we had more in paragraph section here, it would respect and push the div properly, but because we're applying this to the section, at the end of the section, it's going to, those type of styles are going to bleed over. So those are little headaches you have to kind of get used to. I do want this a bit larger, so let's do 20 pixels. And but we'll fix that here in a second. Not position, but display. Let's try a block level inline block. Now this is trial and error here. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, nothing happened. Let's just change this to block. Okay, so what does it mean when I say block and inline? So a block level element in HTML takes up a whole line. So let's go into this would be a better example. Let's go into our button class, and so just to make sure you understand what we're doing now is in the div here, I've added this extra component called a class. So the class we talked about is like a secondary describer, and it helps you style multiple elements with the same CSS. So anywhere we see a button, let's say we wanted to have lots and lots of them. So let's do like, maybe there's like C, oh, this would be C, this would be D, this would be E, this would be F. So this will just maybe illustrate it a little bit better. And these are all divs which are, they should appear on their own line like they are here right now. So if I save this and I refresh, you can see now I've got all these different div class buttons. If I go to my CSS, I'm going to move that over here just because I'm OCD. The dot button, so we're displaying it as a block, which is the default behavior of a div. So that really is kind of like a redundant thing to put. But now we can go in and we can say, you know, like let's give it the background color of the tomato here. So let's grab that hex color. I'm mixing hex, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm going to give it a width. Since it's a button, we know it should have a fixed width of, let's see, let's just do 100 pixels. And so like if we change this to inline block, it will try to fit as many of these on the page up to where it actually has to go to the next line based on this value here. And so they're not just punching up against each other. Let's give it some padding. And that should be a smaller number. So let's go and look at this here. Okay. All right, so it did fit them all on, but you can see what happens when we shrink the page down. And you can also see that we don't have an established, like the section has this margin here. So let's give it the same margin here for the buttons so that it's aligned at the same width. And now let's see what happens. Yeah, so there you go. And you can see that it's just dropping it. Let's do a background border. Is it background border? Or just a border? Solid black. And we need a pixel value. And we'll save that and refresh it. There we go. So you can see the block doesn't have anything because we actually need some padding on not just the sides, or I mean, sorry, margin, not on the sides, but also on the top and bottom. So let's just do this, refresh, and there we go. So now we're spacing out our button a little bit. But yeah, so like with navigation, you might want to fiddle with this display inline block a bit. And if you look at the nav demo that I posted from Professor Mosher in the assignment, the other CSS demo, I think he shows how you could go about messing with that. So we'll keep going here. So one thing is that you have the same kind of effect that we had. So the border radius and the box shadow for the buttons should be carried over, but let's see, the border radius should probably be less. So, and the box shadow as well. And let's go ahead and refresh. Yeah, the box shadow is way too high on the button. So let's do like 4 pixels. And let's change that border color to a red. Now, if we use a border color, so the first value is just like what type of border. So if you want dashed, I believe we'll update to a dash border, and there's some other options, but we want solid, and let's do 25500. We need, of course, RGB. I'm actually going to do RGB alpha. So that's a 4th value, and if we do 0.5, we can see a little bit of opacity on this. And okay, so that didn't work. And oh. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, so we could bring it up even more maybe. So that's a little more pronounced. Okay, so now we go back and, I was just doing this as an example. We'll just make it 2 options. we need a little more top padding on the button here. So let's go ahead and same way we could deal with the left and right. So it's top and bottom, left and right. Okay, this is sometimes throws me off, so let's look at something here. This will be useful. So let's go to HTML box model, and we'll just pull up. This is fine. Get the site up here. Here we go. Okay, so when I'm messing with the padding, I'm going inwards on the outer part of this div, right? So that's a bad boo-boo on my part. If you look at the HTML box model, it starts with the height and width of the element, and then the padding determines the things like text and so on and so forth that would be a part of inside this container. If there's a designated padding like we were just doing 2020, that's only changing from the edge inward, right? So, and then there's this extra area for the border. So if you have a border applied and it's evenly applied at 6 pixels, it's going to push the edge and increase this 400 by 100 box out to a 406 by 106. And then on the margins, that's where we create the spacing between the elements. So if I go back to Atom and I look at my margin for the button, you see this top value needs to be higher. So let's go ahead and create 4 values again. Remember, it's a clock. So the bottom is going to be the third one. So the top is the first. Let's go ahead and give it 40 pixels, 100 pixels, and then the bottom, 10 pixels, just to have something there. Okay. I don't think I'm going to have anything other than the footer, but let's go ahead and preview that here, and we should be good. Okay, so this is the footer. It's unstyled. But yeah, so if I crease the bottom pixels, let's do 200 pixels just so there's a dramatic change. You'll see that's how you push things south. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and then come back.